time to shift gears. This is the Man Shift Guide.
Welcome back to the that's the wrong one. It used to be Managing Manhood and 10 episodes deep, and it's called the Man Shift Guide. Wow, that's a big blunder that I just made there. Managing Manhood was like the original thing I started like years ago, and like for whatever reason, I just can't shake that name. You can look that
I
up later.
I hear you. Yeah, yeah. Take two.
Yeah, it is take two. Um, But regardless of the blunder, I'm excited for today's episode. We have my friend here who I met through TikTok. If you're watching the video, you can see that he has a large Superman collection behind him. And being a Superman collector myself, we've kind of connected through that. And as I've kind of talked to him a little bit more, like he just has like this awesome story about like being like a guitar player and just recently found out that he's in the ministry. And the thing that I most want to talk about is, and I said this before, earlier before I hit record, I don't want to call it a weight loss journey because it wasn't necessarily looking to just like I want to lose weight, but it's really just like an overall just like health journey. And you talked about in the little blimp that you gave me, like you're on all these kinds of like medications and like diabetes and all this other kind of stuff, and you're able to like turn that around, and even so much at an age where it's a lot harder to do that. Like they talk about like going north of 40, like your body becomes harder to like get muscle and harder to like lose weight and like all of these other things that happen that makes it a little bit more difficult than somebody who's like, in their 20s or in their 30s or things of that nature. So I really kind of want to talk about that with you. And let's kind of start from the beginning of like where were you that made you want to go on that journey?
Very cool. First of all, Oren, thanks a lot, man, for having me on. I sure appreciate it, man. The opportunity. It's pretty cool. I've listened
Yeah.
to three or four of your podcasts when I'm driving or when I'm working out. A lot of people, when they're working out, they have a playlist that they go through. Mine are podcasts usually. That's what I listen to, and it just
Awesome.
helps me to keep learning, keep the old brain ticking, and keep things moving. So, but yeah, so thank you. And yeah, I have been on a health journey, and I think you're correct in saying that it was more of a health thing rather than a weight thing. Although weight has been an issue in my life for my whole life,
Mm.
since I was a kid. Well, I was the chubby kid that ran around. My brother was pretty thin as a rail, and so was my sister. But I was the chubby kid of the family. I was the youngest, and that followed me through my whole life. And uh, I used to say that I struggled with my weight my whole life, but I will say now I didn't struggle at all.
Mm.
My biggest struggle that I had was making my way through the drive-throughs, getting that next big combo number seven, right?
Mhm.
So, and those kinds of things, because life kind of got in the way, not in the way, but life gets busy as it does. And I was more busy doing those things and raising a family and not being concerned about what was going on with me. And also, with being in the ministry for many years, I was pretty focused on that. And
Mhm.
uh, I just didn't make time for myself until I turned 49 years old when I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes.
Mm.
And I was pretty heavy at that time. I was probably riding probably 289 pounds, somewhere right in there. And it would fluctuate. On a good day or a good week, I might have been at 280, somewhere around in that area. And it's been a while now, so it's hard to remember, but I don't remember I do remember how I felt. And so that was where I was at. And when I heard about the type 2 diabetes, I was brought up with that phrase pretty much being a thing that happened to you and there was just no way out. The
Mhm.
doctors never told me, I don't know about anybody else, but they never told me, hey, you can turn this thing around. You can turn this thing around with the right diet, with the right amount of exercise. You can turn it around. They never told me that. You know what they told me? They told me, here's how you can manage it.
Mhm.
And here's how you'll manage it. You'll manage it with these medications. We're going to give you this medication. Then they show you the meal plate that was real popular. They have since changed that whole thing back to the food pyramid, but it was a food plate, and you would have a little bit of carbs, you'd have a lot of greens, and then a good portion of protein on the plate. And they would say, "This is what your plate of food should look like. Good luck. Here's your
Mhm.
medication and go for it." But I pretty much saw type 2 diabetes as being a life sentence, and that's something that would eventually probably take me out. And my mother had type 2 diabetes, but she was on insulin. What happened with me, Oren, was that little by little, they kept adding on more medication.
Mm.
My life was very stressful at the time in ministry and doing some of the things that I was doing there that were I'm very proud of and were really big deals for me back then. But I was so stressed with life and those kinds of things that I didn't pay attention to all the diet and still. So they just kept saying, well, we're going to have to up your medication. Oh, we're going to have to add another medication. Hey, you're about two medications away before we're going to have to put you on insulin. And when I finally made a big move from the West Coast to Tennessee to be closer to family, my wife and I moved here to be closer to our family. It was in 2012 we moved here, and I was just busy trying to find a place to live and that sort of thing, and I was trying to um, de-stress from my last 7 years of being full-time minister, and pretty intense time for me, but an amazing time. And I was trying to just get off of all of that and move forward. And I went to the doctors, and he's just going, "We have to add more medication, more medication." And I finally woke up one day in 2017 and said, "I got to do something about this." So I started halfway doing it, not really taking it real serious. It wasn't until 2019 when I finally decided I have had enough, because the track that I'm on at that time, I was 58 years old. And I said, this is going to kill me. I feel tired. I feel sick all the time. My eyesight, uh, everything was just deteriorating. And something that people don't know, just as a public service announcement, diabetes is not just a sugar thing that you get, and as long as you control your sugar, you're good. It affects so many other areas of your life and so many other parts of your body that you probably don't realize. One of those things is dental. Your dental will deteriorate on a fast track if you don't manage well your diabetes. It'll your kidneys, the nerves in your feet and your hands, your extremities. It's called neuropathy, and it'll affect your heart. It'll affect all of these things. So it's a very, very serious disease that a large part of the United States population suffers from. And there's just a lot of nuances to it, and you have to get a hold of it. Otherwise, it will get a hold of you. And that's what I did. And
Mhm.
I decided I'm done. So that's kind of where that journey began, is in 2019.
So it sounds like it was about 10 years from diagnosis to like where you're like, I'm kind of done with this. And you kind of talk about some things there that I think a lot of guys struggle with. Like we're doing things and we're helping people and like we kind of just like neglect doing the things for ourselves. And you kind of,
Absolutely, Oren.
yeah.
What a great point, because I'm telling you, one of the things that kept me busy, not just being in the ministry, but with family things, extended family things. And I've always had this thought of I got to put others first. And then if there's anything left, I can have that. But I gotta take care of that before I can take care of me. And it took me a while to get that deconstructed in my head to say, I am not going to be good for anybody unless I take care of myself first. It's not a selfish thing. As
Mhm.
men, we've been taught that's selfish. That what you need to do is buck up. You need to pull up your bootstraps. You need to put your big boy underwear on. You need to get out there and just kill it, man. Push through it. Push
Yeah.
through it. Keep on going. And that is a recipe for sadness, depression, bad health, and eventually just not being around for the people that you really love.
Right. And just I don't know what it is. Like it's just finding that balance seems to be such a hard thing for a lot of people to do. Um, and it's not like, I mean, you want to take that time for yourself and you want to be able to do things for other people, but like you said, like you got to take care of yourself to be able to take care of others because if you're not functioning at 100% or whatever your version of 100% is, like you're not going to be able to give that to other people if you're not. So finding that balance is so important. And
Absolutely. And one of the things I know about guys, being one, is that we want to get it all done. We
mhm,
we start a job, we want to finish that job. It's hard for us to step back and say, "Hey, I'll do this step today, I'll do that step tomorrow, I'll take care of this tomorrow, plan it out," those sorts of things. But even more than that, when it comes to our own well-being, it's always, "Oh, I'll get to it one day.
mhm,
I'll do it one day." And but in our minds, it's like, or in my mind, it was like, I got to get it. I've got to get from here to here, and I want to get there the fastest I can. How can I
mhm,
do all that? And it becomes overwhelming. And at some point, we just say, we might give it a false start, but then we just say, no, I ain't got time for that today. Next week, whatever. Then it's next month. Then it's next year.
mhm,
And I will tell people time and time again, the biggest thing that you can do to start, the biggest thing, this is the main thing. And it's overly simplified and it sounds kind of silly, but you have to decide. You have to decide. When you decide that I'm going to do this, the rest will start stepping in place. So,
mhm,
step one, decide and
mhm,
be concrete about it. I am deciding today that I am going to start a path of being good to myself, whatever those things are, whatever that means. A little time for yourself, whether if you pray, pray. If you meditate, meditate. If you like to take walks, walk. If you like to fish, go fish. Whatever it is you do, take a moment of time, a little piece out of everything you do, and decide, I'm going to do that. That's one thing. I
mhm.
decided that I'm going to do better for myself. And when it's your health, you say, I have decided I'm not going to be this anymore. Now, what's the next step? So the decision is the first part in any journey, right?
Sure. And I would also add that it's not like there's like that perfection mentality as well. Like someone will like, okay, I'm going to start this, but then they kind of hit that little roadblock, or there's a day where they didn't do the praying, or they didn't do whatever it is they wanted to do, and they're like, oh man, I screwed it all up. I'm not going to be able to do this. And like the all or nothing mentality, I think also kind of prevents a lot of people from doing that because, like you said, earlier, like you want to finish something and you want to be perfect at finishing something, and like you can't be perfect at it. Like there's no possible way you're going to be perfect at anything.
No, you're
And
right.
and I think the second thing to that would just be like consistency, but also like just giving yourself room for growth and for learning because like you got yourself in a particular and we'll go back to like the health thing. Like you got yourself to where you were years of practice of living your lifestyle, and then you make the decision you don't want to do that, but you're fighting this whole lifestyle that you've been doing for 30 plus years. And you're not going to expect to like all of a sudden be like, okay, I'm done. This is not who I am anymore. Like you're gonna want to still be that person. Like those temptations are still gonna be there. So you got to give yourself
Absolutely. Trying
grace
to
there.
break those neural paths is hard. You have to retrain yourself. And I was listening to one of your other podcasts, and I was just shaking my head. Yes, yes, yes. As this gentleman was talking about how we get used to doing things a certain way always. And it's easy to go, it's like a rut in a road. You
Hmm.
continue to go down that path, and you have to make yourself make new ruts. And that's the same thing. That's
Yeah.
the same thing. And when I started, I did everything wrong.
Hmm.
I did everything wrong. And you said it just now that it's consistency. So in my mind, it's deciding, it's it's discipline,
Hmm.
and it's consistency. And all those things work together because you have to decide almost every day, and you have to just be disciplined enough to say, I'm too tired, I don't feel good, I think I got something coming on, but you do it anyways.
Hmm.
Where the discipline comes in, consistency and discipline. And notice motivation is not a part of any of that. And another one of your great guys you had on here was talking about the same thing. Motivation is not really a part of it. Motivation is momentary.
Hmm.
It's momentary and it comes and it goes. I get
Hmm.
motivated all the time, and there's days I'm going, I just don't want to be in here today. I just don't want to do this today, but I'm going to do it anyways because I know that's what I need. And it does so much more than just my physical health, it's mental health,
Hmm.
emotional health, all those things. Attitude adjustment, that's what it's all about. And so
Yeah.
I did everything wrong in the beginning, absolutely wrong.
So what was that like for you then? Like, were you just like trying to like, I don't know what I'm doing, but you kind of kept going because eventually you figured it out.
Here's what I said. Here's not what I said. Here's what I did.
Hmm.
Once I decided that I didn't want to do this anymore, and when I say do this, the way I was, being sick all the time. And you hear people in AA have said, and I've heard this, that I got sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Hmm.
And that's where I was. So I didn't really know what to do. I wasn't listening to podcasts. I wasn't doing anything. All I knew is that I ate the wrong things and I ate too much of the wrong things. And so that's where I started. I said food got me into this, and not moving around got me into this. So that must be my way out. And so I spent the next year, maybe year and a half, shedding the weight. And it was all about the scale. It was making that number go down. And so I was literally, and I do not recommend this at all. I was literally surviving on rice cakes,
Hmm.
small packets of tuna, those kinds of foods, no bread, nothing, no bread, and that's something can be argued back and forth about should you have bread, should you not have bread. It depends on who you are and what you're doing and what kind of bread you're eating. But forget all that. I was really just kind of paying myself back for being so unhealthy by punishing myself. And over the next year and a half, the weight started coming off. Boom, boom, boom. And I was low, 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 low. And I still wasn't feeling well.
Hmm.
But I'd go to the doctors. My A1C was going down, tick, tick, tick. They would say, "Oh, we can cut back on this medication." I was taking on seven different medications to manage my diabetes, my blood pressure, and a little heart thing that I've had since I was in my 20s.
Hmm.
I still take that, and I still take something for my cholesterol. That's it. But little by little, those were my victories. The scale number going down, the pills coming off, and I thought I was doing it and I was getting there until I got to a place where my wife looked at me and she said, "Honey, if you lose any more weight, I'm going to have to call St. Jude." And she was kind of joking, but she was looking at me very seriously. Like she goes, "Seriously, you look ill. You look sick. You look worse than you did when you had all that weight on you."
Hmm.
And that kind of hit me all of a sudden. And that's what started me going, Okay, I got the weight off. At my lowest weight from 280 some pounds, I was down to 152 pounds.
Wow.
So I lost that much weight. And threw away all my clothes, bought new clothes. I was wearing size 30 pants. I'm like, dude, I haven't seen this since I was a teenager. Um and I'm still at that waist size, but there's so many other different things. I'm eating more, I'm eating right, I'm eating the correct things. I got a nutritionist through my insurance, which is, if you got any kind of insurance at all, pretty much a nutritionist is free. You don't have to
Mm.
pay a copay or anything. And I meet with her once a week, and she helped me get on track. And now and so just one thing led to another. That first, I got off track there a little bit. That first year and a half, everything wrong. And I don't recommend that. That's the wrong thing. I tell people now, do one thing. Do one thing today and build on that. Keep that one thing. Once you get good at doing that one thing, add a thing and keep
Mhm.
doing that until you get those things all in a row and they start stacking up. You spend 15 minutes 3 times a week lifting 10-pound weights. If that's all you can do it. Just do it consistently. Walk around the block. If you got a treadmill, walk a half a mile on the treadmill. Do those things. Just let them add up. Don't go in there going, all right, I got to do a 2 hour workout, and then I'll be good, because that's not the way to do it. That's
Yeah,
not the way to do it.
and and it kind of, it's almost like, because you have those other influences out there, right? Like you have your David Goggins, you have all those people who are like, they went out there and shed all that weight in 3 months, and they're fantastic and they're feeling great and stuff. But like, I feel like that's like 1% of the population can do that. And you kind of talk about like the do one thing at a time, which is great, but then there's people like me, like I appreciate the one thing at a time, but like I got to do more than just like one thing. But like, talk about burnout. Like you talk like that year that you just went like the very little thing, like I would not be able to sustain that for a year, like
Yeah.
living that way, because
It
man,
was
like,
horrible, Ori.
yeah,
It was
like
horrible.
even like, and you said you saw all of these like positive things happen to you, but like I would not be able to even be disciplined enough to just like do those things. So
I
I
was
kind of
just
like,
worried about I was worried about, again, because it was just my nature, and I think most men that have families think this way. It's them before me. And I thought this is one of those things that I can give to them is by being healthier. And I thought that was the way to get there. And I was trying to do it fast and try to get it done because I'd never been successful at that ever in my life. And I had tried before. I
mhm,
tried, and I remember taking way back, I forget when it was, but Herbalife was a big thing. And you take all these pills, and they give you a diet. And I took so many of those silly green pills, it made myself sick and lived on grapefruit. It didn't work. And the best advice I give anybody these days is you have to do what's sustainable.
mhm,
That's why I don't really call them diets anymore. I just call it nutrition. This is what I'm eating today for my energy. This is what I'm eating to feed my body so that it can be the best it can be where I'm at today. And so I look at food as fuel and nutrition and I don't call it diets. And I
mhm,
don't I don't restrict myself to the point of missing out on moments that are potentially things that are going to feed my soul rather than my stomach. And that means family gatherings.
mhm.
I will partake. If it's a birthday, I will have cake, but I do it in a way that makes sense. I say to myself, yeah, I will partake because I don't want to be that weird guy eating carrot sticks in the corner. So I'm gonna have a piece of that cake, but I'll take a small piece of that cake. And I might even on my own when no one's looking, scrape off the frosting. I might do that. Or
Mhm.
I'll just eat it and let it go because as a diabetic, that's not good. But what I'm saying is that if you don't do things like that to feed your soul, anything else you do externally out there is not going to be sustainable long term.
Yeah.
And there's no destination. This is a life journey. And one meal, one snack is just one meal, one snack out of a lifelong journey. It's not going to undo everything you have worked for unless you do it every day.
Hmm. And then you kind of get into those like binging things, right? Like you got to know what you can handle. Um, I
Yes.
like definitely don't like, you can have that slice of cake, but if you know that like you might end up binging afterwards, and maybe, just be aware of what you can and can't do. So,
I
and it's
do. You're right. You just have to say, this is a weakness of mine. I will still steer clear.
Mhm,
And one of the things I used to do is like, I used to like this or that. I would try to find alternatives that would feed that part that would help me go, this is better for me. For instance, ice cream versus frozen yogurt.
mm,
Frozen yogurt's going to be better, but there's still a lot of sugar content. So to
mhm,
steer clear of that, I said plain Greek yogurt with this sweetener that doesn't affect my blood sugar and put a little fruit in it. And now I've got ice cream with fruit in it. It feeds that part of me that loved ice cream.
mhm,
And as far as bread is concerned, I will eat things. I like Sola bagels.
mm.
Sola bagels are kind of expensive. There's four in a package, and it'll cost you almost $7. And that seems crazy. But if you cut those in half, they'll go a little bit further, and you get all your fiber, you get a good amount of protein, and the net carbs on those is like five.
Mhm.
And I can still have bread.
And I guess like because we kind of like live in this culture, and I know for me and my feed and stuff with weight loss, a lot of it has with people who are like, wanting to look like bodybuilders and things of that nature. And the way that it looks like you approach it, it's totally different because you weren't out there looking like I want to be this big bodybuilder guy. You just want to be healthy. So like the approach of this is way different than somebody who's going after like, being Mr. Olympia or something like that.
Yes, sir.
And it's just
Yeah.
I did get the cue that it's about time to start wrapping it up. So and I would love to talk more about this, about like because you talk about with like the nutritionist and things like that, and you kind of touch like there are substitutes for just about anything, and
Yes.
just kind of having finding the right substitute for stuff. And yeah, I mean I would definitely for sure. I feel like this conversation is not over, and I think that
Yeah.
I would love to have you come back and maybe do like a part two, and we can talk more about um the that kind of stuff.
I would love
Um,
to, Oren. I
yeah,
would appreciate it because I really do feel, it's kind of like about half the story
yeah,
as far as the health journey goes. But I was glad to be able to at least take a part and share a little bit of it because my final note for me would be that I am not a health nut. I never did try to be a bodybuilder, but
hmm,
there are some realities that, especially at my age, there's a lot of guys my age and people be north of 40 that are going, hey, I don't know if I can even do this now.
right.
It's not too late. I didn't start till I was 58. I'm going to turn 65 in 2 weeks, and I'm in the best health I've been in my entire life.
And that's why I'm so grateful for you to be on here because you give so much hope for that person who wants to get better, but all the information they are finding are these people who like want you to go to the gym and like you have to have all this protein and all that kind of stuff and like
Yeah.
and I went that direction and I got burnt out like trying to have 200 grams of protein a day and going to the gym and like making sure that I like my macros and all that stuff are on point and like that's not it wasn't for me.
It
And
could be overwhelming.
yeah,
It can be overwhelming. And although I do some of those things that you talk about right there that you mentioned, although I do some of those things, um, I don't let that be the thing that drives the car.
hmm,
There's you you got to find your why. What is your why?
sure. And I love that.
Yeah.
And I usually set this up and I didn't ask you to be prepared, but you have said that you've listened to the podcast before, so you should know the question that's coming up is the man that you admire. Like who's that one person that you would like to shout out?
Okay. I'll try to make this one person because over my life I've had a lot of strong men in my life. But first off, before I say that, my the women in my life I have a lot of strong women in my life, and they have taught me so much. And number one being my wife, who is an amazing, intelligent, strong, independent woman who takes so many burdens for our family, and she is an amazing woman. So after that would be my spiritual mentor. His name is David K. Wooten. He has since passed away, and he brought me up from my late 20s, and he taught me so much about life in general and about spiritual matters. And he has gone on to be with the Lord. And the last guy would be David Chimino, who is 80 years old, and he drums like an animal, man. And
Mm.
he's still out there hitting those skins. He's played with so many big boys out there. I can't even mention them, but he lives in California. We stay in touch. He's like a blood brother to me.
It's awesome. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And again, I'm so happy to be able to make contact because this story, I need to hear more. So we'll for sure we'll be doing this. And for you, listener, hopefully we have earned your subscription, and hopefully you'll be coming back for part two. And we will be seeing you in on the next one. In the meantime, this has been the Man Shift Guide, and I hope you go out there and do something awesome today.